I'm John Murphy, and welcome to Eastern Connecticut Arts Review, a weekly magazine about people, organizations, special events, and news for the arts community in Eastern Connecticut. That's Tolland, Wyndham, and New London counties. I'm here with you live with my co-producer Matt Rupar every Wednesday at 5:30, sharing news and information about the arts community and economic recovery here in Eastern Connecticut. Our program today will focus on the Arts Center East, one of our regional arts organizations that covers that part of the state in the Vernon area. And we're going to be speaking with Liz Bologna. Also, we're going to be sharing some news about this program expanding and doing some new things. And we also have some music to share. But first off, let's open up today with Liz Bologna. I've had Liz on the program before, and she's here to give us an update on the good work in Vernon with Arts Center East. So welcome back to the program, Liz.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, John. It's good to be back.
So I guess the thing you want to highlight right away, because we're doing this on March 30th, is you have a big exhibit starting this weekend that has 3 follow-up events that really expand a whole exhibit. So let's start out with that one.
We do. So the first thing is Friday. I can't believe it's already April on Friday, but Friday, yeah. April 1st, is when our Still Life exhibit opens. It's called Still Lifes and the Legacy of Charles Ethan Porter. And so the exhibit itself is a juried exhibit of still life artists from all over New England, actually, primarily from Connecticut, but a few from Massachusetts and New York are in the exhibit as well. And we have components in the exhibit that relate to Charles Ethan Porter, who was a still life artist from Rockville in the 19th and early 20th century. So we have some, not his actual artwork. As it turns out, art can be very expensive.
Indeed.
and so we have reproductions of his work that are actually owned by the Vernon Historical Society, which is just down the street from us.
Great.
So if anyone is really interested in following up, they can see those pieces at the Historical Center there. But so we have information as well about Charles Ethan Porter that goes along with that in the exhibit. And then Sunday, April 3rd, we have a presentation from Jean Luddy, who works at the Vernon Historical Society, called Charles Porter, Artist from Rockville. And she'll be talking about Charles Ethan Porter and his life and what it was like here in Rockville. You know, he was one of he was one of 8 children. So there was, a lot of activity from that family. And then Sunday, April 10th, also at 3 p.m., we have a talk from Erin Bartram, who works at the Mark Twain House and Museum. And her talk is going to be called Without Money or Moneyed Friends, Mark Twain, Charles Ethan Porter, and Art Patronage in the Gilded Age. So she's really focusing on the relationship that Charles Ethan Porter gained with Mark Twain. He was a good supporter of Charles Ethan Porter, but not just Mark Twain. Actually, Mark Twain's whole family really was a good support to Charles Ethan Porter. And so she's talking about, sort of the buying and selling of art at the time and what it meant to support the art at that time. And then Saturday, April 23rd, we have another talk from Cynthia Hawkins. She's at one of the SUNY schools. She's a curator, but she's also an artist herself. And her talk is called Charles Ethan Porter's Refusal of Marginalization. She's done quite a lot of work looking specifically at Black artists, both contemporary Black artists and then going back more, into the Gilded Age and doing research into how Charles Ethan Porter fit into or didn't fit into the narrative of Black artists at the time.
Does his story, as you present it, include the obstacles he faced as someone with great talent who had challenges?
It does, and I have to say, in some respects, he seems to be a bit of an outlier. In a lot of the articles and the writing that we found about him at the time, he was rarely referred to as a Black artist. Now, whether that was intentional or not by people talking about him, is open to debate. But largely, he was successful because he was good at what he did, and he found support from people who really appreciated his work. Now, his obstacles came largely later in his life when, because of economic reasons in general, people were not as supportive of the arts, and there was not as much art buying going on, and he unfortunately he had to sell a lot of his artwork, or he had to even barter and basically say, I will give you an oil painting so I can, heat my house.
Sure. Boy, that's humbling. And
it was very interesting, yeah.
And it's still going on today for some folks, too, who are still struggling on the edge, trying to be viable. He's facing that, but it's a shared experience for many people today. Yeah,
I think for, a long time throughout history, it's pretty difficult to be an artist. You can be extremely talented, and you can be, you can have a great community of supporters, but it can still be very difficult.
Yeah. In case you've just joined us, you're listening to Eastern Connecticut Arts Review here on WILI, and we're speaking with Liz Bologna today from the Arts Center East. And I know you folks just finished your 11th annual members exhibit. So how did things go for March for that show, and how people did?
We did. It was great. I love having our members exhibit because it's a nice chance to really, and there's no theme. So really it's anything that people are proud to share with the public goes in the exhibit. And so we had pastel painting, we had watercolors, we had some ceramics, we had some glasswork as well, which was exciting. And we did just tally everybody's votes. So, big announcement here, live on the air. We do have the winners for our People's Choice Award that was voted by the public. So Scott Rhodes, who's an artist from Coventry.
I know him well.
His piece, Main Peak, not spelled it P-E-A-K and then P-E-E-K. But that piece won first place and for the most votes. And then tied for second was actually Christine Snidak for her backlit fields, and then Nancy Tomasini for Hydrangea Dream, which that one was one of my personal favorites, I gotta say.
It's really nice to hear about events where people are coming out of their caves now. They're feeling more safe and more secure and more willing to reconnect this way. So having all those votes must be a lot of fun when you're counting it all up,
It's been great because it's also a nice way for us to know how many people came out in person to see the exhibit too, but also how many people voted online. We are still putting our exhibits online for people to see, so there is that option as well.
Yep.
But it's been great, to have the art here and to have people here to appreciate it. It's getting so much better.
That's one of the things you reminded me about, is one of the good things to come out of this whole COVID mess is that people are really learned to use the internet as an everyday tool, like for town meetings and all these kinds of organizational meetings. You can always go online for those that can't drive. Even when you have people there, you can bring in more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I also want to mention the Arts Center East is in Vernon at 709 Hartford Turnpike. And the best way to follow up on everything that Liz is sharing today is go to the website artscentereast.org. Thank you for making that a simple address, very much, artscentereast.org. And a few more things on the website I want to cover while we have some time are your classes. There's some starting up in different modalities, and people can find out more about ways to get their hands on this and learn more themselves.
Absolutely. So, of course, those are also listed on our website and in our newsletter if people want to sign up for that. And I can't believe it, but we've still got a couple spaces open in our clay class that starts next Wednesday. So if anyone out there is interested in trying a clay class, it is very accessible. I know clay can seem like a tough medium, but it is one that our teacher, Sharon Kemna, is extremely good at, and she's a really great teacher, and she's got a great following right now with her students, but we do have a couple extra spots if people are interested in that. And then we have also another for beginner but also adventurous artists, our creative acrylics class. It's not really a paint night. It's more difficult and a little more technical than that. But this month's painting is really nice. It's a lilac field with some buildings in the back, which to me looks, I don't know, it looks sort of like a nice Tuscan escape, which as we go into spring is something nice to think about.
It is. And that's April 7th, right, in the evening?
Yes, that's an evening one-night class.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have two other classes coming up that are associated with our still life exhibit. We have a 2-day workshop from Karen Israel. She's doing a still life workshop in the pastel medium, which is her specialty. And then we have another class starting in about 2 weeks, which is a still life in watercolor painting. And Joe Berger, who's teaching that class, is actually one of our artist members as well. So he was included in in the exhibit that was just up last month.
Okay. Well, I just want to mention one more thing, too. You know, we have Liz on the program today, and she's in the Vernon area. But this is part of a series of interviews that we're doing all the time in different parts of the region. Folks up in the Putnam Arts Council, the Ashford Arts Council, the Coventry Arts Guild, right here in Willimantic, the Wyndham Regional Arts Council. So our regional groups can help you connect to artists, because one of the things that's nice when I hear Liz talking about her program is artists who are practicing have a chance to share their work and earn some money and become sustainable. And people that want to learn and get started have a way to do it. So it's very mutual. And I've seen it work over the last few years, and I'm really happy to see the recovery after all the shutdown. And I'm sure you must feel really happy that we're getting more and more on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen really great cooperation, too, with other arts organizations in terms of, cross promotions and letting each other's, artists know about all these great opportunities that are coming up across the state.
Right. I also want to give you the phone number to call is 871-8222-860, right, 871-8222. ArtsCenterEast.org is the website. And one last thing I wanted to have Liz cover briefly is there's always need for volunteers. People that want to learn about the art can do that by volunteering and seeing artists at work. So what can you have people do to help you out now this time of, at this time of the year?
Yeah, we have all kinds of different things that we need volunteers for coming up soon because, like we said, spring is just down the road here. We will need some people who, if they have gardening skills, we love that. If you're an outdoor person, you can help us with our garden beds here. If you're not quite so much of an outdoor or hands-on person, we also need gallery sitters to do the work of handing out programs, maybe getting some feedback from the people who visit the exhibit. And then coming up in May, we will have our art tag sale, which means we have a lot of art supplies to go through, figure out what we have. We got to price everything. We got to lay that all out. So there's a lot coming up.
Okay. Well, Liz Bologna, thank you for your good work during the year for the arts community, and I wish you a great spring, and we'll have you back in May to see how things are moving forward, okay?
Thanks so much, John.
Okay, and also congratulations again to Scott Rhodes. He's actually been on the show a couple of times, so thumbs up to Scott Rhodes and all the winners as well. Take care, Liz.
You too. Thanks, John.
Okay. All right. So we have some news to share, some information about the program, and we have some local events and some listings that I've gotten in the email. I want to share some updates with you. But let's take a very short musical break for a beautiful lyric that's one of my favorites for when winter comes into spring. The lyric is very powerful. Enjoy Morning Glory.
I lit my purest candle close to mine window, hoping it would catch the eye of any vagabond who passed it by. And I waited in my fleeting house. Before he came, I felt him drawing near. As he neared, I felt the ancient fear that he had come to wound my door and jeer. And I waited in my fleeting house. Tell me stories, I called to the hobo. Stories of cold, I smiled at the hobo. Stories of old, I knelt to the hobo. And he stood before my fleeting house. No, said the hobo, no more tales of time. Don't ask me now to wash away the grime. I can't come in 'cause it's too high a climb. And he walked away from my fleeting house. Then you be damned, I screamed to the hobo. Leave fleeting house.
What a great song, Morning Glory. That was Tim Buckley. He wrote the song. That was one of his original versions. I'm also sharing it because this weekend on Saturday, Steve Katz is going to be in Wellington, and he's going to be at the Eastern Connecticut Center for History, Art, and Performance, EC Chap, also the same building that has the Packing House. Steve Katz was a founding member of Blood, Sweat, and Tears and the Blues Project. He was for a while a vice president at Mercury Records. He made records with Lou Reed and Horselips from Ireland. He has quite an amazing story, and what he's going to do this Saturday is play some music. He's a wonderful guitarist, sing some of his original songs, which are marvelous, and he's got a whole media presentation of the history of these bands over several decades. So it's more of a conversation than a sit-down concert. He's going to play some great music, but he's going to share some history. And it's going to be a good evening at 7:30. This Saturday at the Packing House. If you want to find out more, just go to thepackinghouse.us, and you can find out about all their great programs. I had a chance to do an interview earlier today on my WECS program with Steve Katz, and he was wonderful on the phone. It sounds like it's going to be a great evening. If you're a music fan, he's the kind of guy that you want to know. If you're a friend of Shabu, then Steve Katz is someone that could be talking to you. I also want to mention that I got some news from Bev York. She's been on the program before. She's working with the American Museum and Wyndham Arts. On April 2nd, they're going to open a Titanic exhibit that runs through April 30th, and that's going to be at the Eastbrook Mall at the Coffee Break Gallery. A really neat little space that's open on the weekends. It's on the Kohl's side of the mall. And folks change exhibits every month. There's different groups there, and it's a really cool little space if you're in the mall. And they're going to do a thing about the whole Titanic thing with Ernie Eldridge and also Anita Sebastian. That'll be Saturday and Sunday from noon to 4. And they have all kinds of information, painting, models, and much more about the story of Titanic. And that's going to be on April 2nd. April 2nd. Christine Ullman is going to be a guest with the James Montgomery Band in the movies, man. Blues and the Movies, Friday, April 22nd at 8 o'clock. That's in Mystic at the Luxury Cinemas there. It should be a great evening of blues. Christine Ullman and James Montgomery. It's going to be a great evening. And a couple more things I want to share. One is the Repair Cafe is back. This has been here for many years. The Repair Cafe is a wonderful movement to try to repair and recycle things that otherwise would be thrown out. And they had to shut it down for COVID, but they're back beginning on April 9th at the First Congregational Church, 10 to 2. And that's right here in town on Valley Street. So if you know about the Repair Cafe, I'm really happy that it's coming back. If you don't know about it, stop by. When you're doing spring cleaning, don't throw things out. See if they can be fixed for free. And that's Saturday, April 9th. Okay, I'm getting the thumbs up from Matt, so that's it for this week. Thanks very much for being here. I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, take care and keep the faith.